Happy Friday, everyone. Big slate tonight in MLB. I'm ready to go. Alex is here. He's got the fresh cut. I got a fresh cut too. But
Look at that. That's
Yours
gotta
looks
be a
little,
good sign, right?
I'm told the back is a little short. I don't know. Doesn't matter.
A little bit, maybe.
Fresh cut show.
Yeah, there you go. The key is to get it cut so short that you grow into the prime, the time of the hair. Not you don't get it cut to the prime and then let it grow out of that the whole time. Grow into the prime.
Yeah, grow into the prime. But it was getting hot here in Atlanta. You saw that. Super hot.
Sure did.
Little buzz. And now we have Freddie Freeman coming home to play. The Dodgers playing my Braves. I was over by the stadium today, and there was already like crowds showing up. I had to do something over there, and I was looking at it, and I was like, I wish I could go, but I'm going out to a nice fancy dinner tonight. There will be pictures on Twitter, but we got a big slate today, dude. I'm feeling real good about it. I was just telling you before this, I spent like 7 hours breaking this thing down today and trying to figure out where I wanted to go. We did the Prize Pick show. Go check that. Or I did the Prize Pick show over on YouTube. Go check that out. I have 3 prize picks out. Use promo code FTN to get $100 or 100% match on $100. Do that if you haven't already. I added 2 more I found after I did the show. So I've got 5 prize picks plays up, and I feel really good at least about like 4 out of 5 of them. Like, I love them. 4 out of 5 hitting, so flex parlay it. Check out the free pick tracker over on FTN Daily. And then I know we're about to talk MLB, but I've got to bring this up. Alex, you don't know that I'm about to bring this up, but I won a lot of money last week, so I went and bought myself a little prize. Look what I got.
Oh, solid.
Look at that. Look who bought the dip. Look who bought the dip.
That's buying the dip for sure.
Dolphins are going to be good this year. I'm not calling
they
Super Bowl. I'm not calling Super Bowl yet, but I'll call Final Four for sure. Miami.
I put it this way: if they're not good this year, it's Tua's fault.
I would agree with that.
Yeah,
I would agree with that. Or if Tua gets hurt, this is his year. The whole team surrounding him is awesome. What are we talking about? Let's talk about baseball. We're going to talk about pitchers. We're going to talk about hitters. We're going to get some home run calls. We're going to win us a lot of money today. I'm loving it. So, Alex, let's start with pitchers. Price. Don't consider it. Who's your favorite? Well, you know what? Yeah, don't consider it. Who's your favorite pitcher on the slate? Who do you have to play?
It's Nola, Aaron Nola against San Diego. You got to mention the fact there's no Manny Machado. He was already projecting extremely well. I just really like what we've seen from him this year. I think it was Jake who mentioned like he's only walked 1 guy in the last month or something like that. It's just the command is there, the stuff is there. The run prevention is there. I think he's doing a better job this season than last in terms of keeping the really dangerous contact away. I just really like everything about him here. So there's not much else to say. He projects really well across the board in the strikeout model. Just checks every box.
Do you think Manny Machado is back tonight?
I don't, but I don't know that for sure.
Yeah, I don't think he'll be back. He was like stretching yesterday before the game, but even if he is back, like I don't care. Aaron Nola's my top guy too. 3.11 ERA so far this season, 28.7% strikeout, only walking 3.2% of batters. You mentioned how well or how good he's done this month at preventing walks. That's awesome. He's been more efficient on the road. Matter of fact, actually a lot better. 2.25 ERA, travels to the Pitchers Park in San Diego, and Padres could be without Manny Machado. In 48 road innings, he is only 3 homers. So 48 road innings, 3 homers, striking out 51 fucking bats. That's a lot. 51 bats in 48 road innings. Padres were hot. Now they've cooled down a little bit, striking out almost 9.5 times per game since Machado went down. Even if he's in, he can still strike out too. Not that worried about it. The only guy, through my research today, every time that these Padres batters have faced Aaron Nola, there is not a single bat on that team that has more hits than strikeouts against Nola. So if they've got a hit, they've struck out 1 or more times. If they've gotten 2 hits, they've struck out 2 or more times. Most of them have struck out if they have 1 hit 2 or more times. The only person that hasn't done that is Jake Cronenworth, who's been on fire lately. But was he batting second probably tonight? Second or third? Not a lot of people on base in front of him. He could get to him, I guess. but I'm not too worried about it. If anyone's going to get to him, it's Jake Cronenworth, and not something I'm worried about. The strikeouts are going to cover it. So Aaron Nola is going to be my top guy on the slate. That is my top spend up. I don't have any interest in Justin Verlander tonight. I don't think that I'm going to get Severino unless I just land on $10,200. It's going to be Aaron Nola. But if you want to play ownership game, you can go around Verlander and Severino, or go around Nola for Verlander, Severino. I'm not doing that. I don't like spending all day finding out the best player and then just pivoting off him because everyone else figured it out too. So Aaron Nola is my guy. Let's talk about who you want to use as your SP2. Who you got at SP2 tonight?
So from a pure projection standpoint, it's Jeffrey Springs. I think that's where the vast majority of the field is going to go. I also wouldn't even be surprised if Springs ends up the highest owned pitcher on the slate over Nola. He's very clearly a little bit too cheap for what he's done to this point. However, I have some concerns with him. I think that the best way that I can put this is, while I'm confident that he should be projected very well for his price, I'm not confident that we have the same level of certainty around him that we have around somebody like Aaron Nola. It's a smaller sample size. A lot of that sample has come in games when he wasn't throwing, 85 to 95 pitches, where he's pretty much capped now. It was when he was throwing 1 to 2 innings per game. And we've finally started to maybe see the effect of transitioning from a reliever to a starter. The CSW is down to 28% over the last 30 days. There was a while where it was like in the 35% range over the last 30. So it's really come down quickly. He sort of had a bad start last game in what should have been a great matchup against Baltimore. So like I said, I think the best way to put it is I just see too much uncertainty around him to warrant the ownership. It's not that I don't think he's a good play. It's not that I don't think he projects well. I think he does. I'm just concerned about the uncertainty. I think there's a little bit more there than is reflected by the projected ownership for him. So I'm interested in a pivot to Michael Kopech. He projects for over 7 strikeouts. Really like the upside there and a good matchup against Baltimore. I do have concerns about his CSW trend, though. It's down to 27% over the last 30 days, over 3 percentage points below his baseline. So the opposite to a pivot to Kopech would be a pivot to Merrill Kelly. Projects well overall, but doesn't have the strikeout upside and has a positive CSW trend. Then the final guy that I'll mention is going all the way down to 5,600, Ronnie Garcia. I think he projects pretty well against Arizona. I have him projected for over 6 strikeouts, which you don't see very often for a guy under $6,000. So really like the upside that comes there. Positive CSW trend for him as well. So I think, we talked backstage, like this is a difficult slate, particularly at pitching. And part of the reason is there are a lot of viable options. Those are the guys that I'm really heavily considering for tonight. I think my pairing is going to be Nola and Garcia, but I could end up going somewhere else if I don't need all that salary savings.
Let me say this and see if it changes your mind. The Diamondbacks Detroit game is on Apple tonight.
Yeah, I did notice that. I don't know what to think about it. I think I've been burned chasing those a few times now, and it seems like every single Friday I stack one of the Apple TV games. That game does nothing, and the other game just goes nuts. Yeah. So I'm certainly not off of that suspicion. Like I think that the data is still there. But at the very least,
Apple games. If anyone's watching that doesn't know what we're talking about, there's a narrative that they use juice balls on Apple games on Friday nights.
I'll run through the data real quick too. So we have data from Ballpark Pal. Basically, it's a dead ball tracker is what they call it, and they show they have a home run model that looks at all of the balls in the specific park, the way it was hit, so both the velocity, the spin, the direction in that specific park, and there's then a number that's spit out the number of home runs above or below expectation based on the last 5 years or so of data. And throughout this season, home runs are at around 30% below expectation. And for 6 of the 7 days of the week, the average is like 31% below expectation. And then on Fridays, it's less than 20% below expectation. And one of the really easy theories there is, okay, there are 2 Apple TV games every single Friday, if we knew that they were sending juiced balls to those 2 games every single Friday, what would we expect to see in the home runs data? Exactly what we're seeing. So there's compelling evidence, certainly not conclusive evidence. So it's still somewhere between speculation and very much supported by the data at this point. But yeah, I think the one thing that we can certainly say about that is, if in order to get hurt by the juiced ball, you have to run into hard contact. And if I'm playing Ronnie Garcia at $5,600, I'm already not really concerned about that. Like the idea there is he has the potential for a ceiling game if he's able to miss bats, or miss barrels, I should say. And of course, I'm playing him for the strikeout upside at that price, in which case the juice balls doesn't have anything to do with that. If he's missing bats, he's missing bats.
I mean, I'm going to immediately push back on Garcia. So this will be one thing we disagree on, because I'm stacking the Diamondbacks tonight, going against them. So we'll talk about that when we get into stacks, and we will debate. We will debate, but it's not time for that yet. So
I would say, before we move on, I would say it's not even like something that I would debate. If you want to stack the Diamondbacks, I love that idea. I think that they're in a great spot. We keep talking like slate after slate that in baseball DFS is super unique, because it's really like the only time where you can the way Kyle put it, where you can sit on a fence and go either side of that and be in a really positive expected value situation. I think that Garcia has a lot of merit. I also think the Diamonds have a lot of merit. For what I want to do tonight, I think I'm more likely to play Garcia than stack Arizona, but I'm certainly not against an Arizona stack. I think that they project quite well. They do project for a 205 ISO against Garcia, and that's without accounting for the possibility of juiced balls. So there's certainly a lot of upside to that stack. I'm not opposed to that at all.
Cool. So a lot to unpack with the other pitchers that you threw out, and then I've got a guy that no one's going to be on, and I can't believe I landed there, but I landed there. But you're talking about Jeffrey Springs might be the highest owned pitcher of the slate, could be because of the price. Strikeout upside's great going up against the Pittsburgh Pirates, who everyone always loves to attack in a pitcher's park in the Trop. It all makes sense to go up against the Pirates. The way the Pirates rolled out this lineup, I love for the Pirates today. I'm not stacking the Pirates. I just think it's going to limit Jeffrey Springs' upside. How good has he really done? Okay, how good has Springs really been? I have Springs in my player pool. I'm not saying I don't, but at the rostership he's getting, I don't think I can get there, man. So let me pull up Springs real quick. 8.5, or I don't think I'd get there on my main team, especially with the rostership. He's broke 20 DK points twice the entire season. Okay, he wasn't as stretched out as they're at the beginning of the season. They give him an inning, give him 2 innings, whatever. Now he's getting up to 94, 86, 92 pitches, whatever it is. He got 23.6 DK points against Minnesota in Minnesota. His next best game is at Baltimore, 27.8. He hadn't been that great at limiting hits. I mean, his strikeout stuff is there. We don't really see that ceiling too often, unfortunately. I think he's a good pitcher, but at the rostership, he's not my number one pick. I've got 2 pivots. Merrill Kelly's one of them with the Diamondbacks, and then another guy in that same range. Jack Swazinski of the Pirates hits lefties great. He's batting lead. Brian Reynolds can hit lefties. Michael Chavis hitting third for the Pirates hits lefties great. Daniel Vogelbach does not, but he's hitting cleanup. Castillo hammers lefties, batting 5th. O'Neal Cruz, we all know about O'Neal Cruz. Cal Mitchell hits lefties. Michael Perez can hit lefties. This Pirates team can hit lefties. I think they're going to get on the base. I'm not sure how many home runs are going out, because they don't go out when they're the Pirates. The thing about the Pirates is they can hit the ball. They just can't hit the ball out of the park. They can get on base, but they can't clear the bases. So I think Jeffrey Springs is too highly owned. I might have 1 out of 4 lineups, but I'm not in love with him. I don't know why everyone's in love with him as much as he is. I would pivot. Look, if I had an extra $200, I'd probably play Springs. But someone that I think can outscore him, this is going to be gross. I think Alex Cobb. Can do it. Spent a lot of time looking at Alex Cobb today. So price $200 less than Springs. No one's going to own this guy, right? I just made the case for, Pirates, whatever. Cobb gets the Reds. The Reds, not good. In June, we used to target the Reds all the time. People quit targeting the Reds. In June, the Reds only have 3 home runs on the road. It's June 24th. They've only done it 3 times on the road and now go to San Diego, where it's incredibly hard to hit home runs. They're bottom 8 in runs, RBIs, and walks in June on the road, okay? They have the second worst average in runs on the season with only 3.06 runs per game, whatever, while having the 5th worst total average over their last 3 games. Alex Cobb, not a huge strikeout guy. Nice pitcher's park, though. I think I put San Francisco. What did I say? San Diego? In San Francisco, he's on the Giants for sure. He's only failed twice at home this season. He ran into a red-hot Washington team at the beginning of the season, and then he ran into a red-hot Mets team like his last start at home. Other than that, he's putting up like 20-plus DK points at home and striking out 6+ while limiting runs. I think he's risky as hell. I think it could go to shit. Sometimes it does for Alex Cobb, but I think it could also go bad for Springs, and I think Cobb could outscore him. I like Alex Cobb, but again, if I had another $200, I would probably play Springs. But if I'm sitting there and I'm looking at my 2 stacks don't fit, I don't have any problem going to Alex Cobb. I think he gets you 20 DK points. But the problem is that enough tonight? Typically on big slates, you need like 60 points out of your pitchers. I don't think Cobb's going out and getting 30. But I think he can definitely survive against this Reds team. They are not good. What are your thoughts on Alex Cobb? If you have any, I'm sure you didn't write him up.
I didn't. I wasn't on an article today, so I didn't write anybody up. I like the call. I'll say the first thing I'd say about him is I actually do think he's a decent strikeout pitcher. You know, he's now at a baseline strikeout rate of 24.5%, and it's been higher this season. What I'm concerned about is, since coming back from injury, he only threw 60 pitches last game. Mm-hmm. I have him capped at 85 tonight, and because of that cap, his threshold probability projections are just way below the other guys that I'm interested in that area. Throw Springs out of the mix for a second, and Cobb is still well below Michael Kopech. He's well below Merrill Kelly in the threshold probabilities. From a projected DraftKings point standpoint, though, he is competitive, and I think that goes to show like just the effect of a pitch cap. It doesn't necessarily hurt the median outcome a ton, but it crushes the ceiling and it crushes the floor because, you know, if Cobb gives up 4 runs in the first, for example, and has to throw 35 pitches, if he was at a full leash, he might have 5 more innings to get all of that back. But with the pitch cap, they're going to be very careful with him. Now maybe he only gets 3 more innings, even if he pitches really well. So it's from a both ceiling and floor perspective, the pitch cap is really detrimental. So I wouldn't go there tonight, but I think that you're absolutely right about just like from a pure talent perspective and the matchup perspective, I really like Cobb. It's just the fact that, like, you know, 85 might even be generous. He threw 60 last game. What if it's only 70 or 75 this game? So that's where I'm scared off by it. But like I said, from a talent and matchup perspective, I really, really like that spot.
Okay, that makes sense. So I had him for a little bit more, but you probably are right around 85. I'm looking into stuff. Like, there hasn't been any announcement about pitch count stuff, I don't think. Mm-hmm. But you're probably right. I had him pinned for a little bit more. So I agree that hurts his ceiling for sure. So I'm going to come off him a little bit. That's why we do the shows. You made a good point there about the pitch count stuff. I just like the spot too much, man. I got caught up in it perhaps, but if he were to get 90, I'd like him, but you're probably right. I think you're going to win that one. Merrill Kelly, I agree with. Great matchup for Merrill Kelly in the Apple game. And you can't have him with the Diamondbacks, who I like a lot, but he's priced cheaper than both Cobb and Springs. I have zero issue with Merrill Kelly, so he might turn into my de facto SP2 now when I don't have the Diamondbacks. Aaron Nola and Merrill Kelly would probably be my preferred way to go there. Browsing through.
Why do you not like Kelly with the Diamondbacks?
Just because, like, if I couldn't fit that many, but I guess technically you can still do 5D. Like, if you're on FanDuel, I don't think you can do it. I might be wrong about that, but
Yeah,
can you do?
FanDuel, you can only use 4 from a team. Period. On DraftKings, you can use 5
Yeah.
hitters even if you have the pitcher.
Yeah, I'm thinking more in like FanDuel terms too, but I mean, yeah, I guess that would still be fine. I don't know. Something in my brain just says it's not like the best correlation to have the pitcher and the bats, but at the same time, it'd help you get the win. I don't know. Maybe it's fine on DraftKings. Do you have any like objection to that or no?
No, so this is actually something I've discussed with Jeff a lot at Rotomania on Twitter. Basically, like I think his philosophy on it is he doesn't like to do it when it's a stud pitcher, like if he's paying 10,000 for a guy, for example. And I sort of get the argument there because if the pitcher is rolling along and just mowing them down, you've already got a 6-0 lead. You're not necessarily trying to sustain a long rally and just score as many runs as you can. You kind of want your pitcher to just get back on the mound and just let him roll. So in that regard, I'm sort of more open to the idea that it's not the best idea to pair them. But when it's someone like Merrill Kelly at $7,900, like I don't think there is any correlation there whatsoever. I think if there is, it's very small and it's countered by the added win equity of using it if your stack goes off. So I'm not opposed to it at all with Merrill Kelly. And if you're going even cheaper than that, like to a Ronnie Garcia type pitcher, then I actually think that it's a positive correlation just because of the win equity.
Okay. Any other pitchers that you want to talk about while I update my article? I'm backing off Cobb somewhat.
Not really. We did get a question in the chat about Michael Kopech. So I think I'll just discuss him for a little bit longer. His biggest issue is command. He's got all the talent in the world, but sometimes he just can't locate the ball, find the strike zone. And right now, over the last 30 days, 26.9% CSW is 3.3 percentage points below his baseline. That makes me think that right now there's, whether it's something in his mechanics or just like a mental block, for whatever reason, he's really, really struggling with command. And so I'm shying away from it a little bit. I love the matchup with Baltimore. I do think the upside is there for him, but do I want to pay $9,000 just for upside when I feel like Ronnie Garcia, while certainly not competing with from a raw ceiling perspective with Kopech, I do think Ronnie Garcia has at least an equivalent ceiling for the price that Kopech has for his price. So it's one of those decisions, like an opportunity cost decision. I think if I'm just paying for ceiling, I'd rather pay $3,400 less for it. But I think the final guy that maybe is worth discussing is Alek Manoah for Toronto. Mm-hmm. Simply put, like he's a great pitcher, but I think he's a better real life pitcher than a fantasy pitcher. Let's see, his baseline strikeout rate is just 25.8%. We're looking at some other guys in that area. You get 29.4% for Kopech, 30.3% for both Severino and Nola. So the strikeout rate just isn't quite justifying his price tag, I think. So it's one of those things where, like, if it was a slate where there weren't some really high upside pitchers on it, I'd be much more into Manoah. Now the flip side of that argument is maybe he comes in under owned because of that, and if he has a good game and some of these other maybe more popular studs fail, then okay, you just gave yourself an advantage. But I just don't see him separating from the field much for his price, so I'm not really interested there. I think that's pretty much all I got for pitchers.
Yeah, let me pull up my list and see if I had anyone else on there. I have Manoah as my favorite pivot up top. I think Pivetta is okay, but I'm not sure it's the right matchup for him. I like him in other matchups when his price is a little bit lower. Springs I have on there, Kopech. I had Michael Lorenzen like ranked 7th. I think it's somewhat interesting, but I also think that the Mariners are going to do okay against him. So my favorite pairing is Aaron Nola, and I'm going to go Merrill Kelly right now. Merrill Kelly or Jeffrey Springs, I guess, but I like the Pirates. They put out a nice lineup today against lefties, man. They can strike out a lot or they can get on base a lot.
One other pitcher I mentioned is Herman Marquez at 6,900. I didn't really mention him because, like, from a projection standpoint, both DraftKings points, strikeouts, and all the threshold probabilities, he's virtually identical to Ronnie Garcia, but he's $1,300 more. So, like, if you're going to pay for Marquez, you might as well just pay $1,300 less for Garcia. But I do think Marquez is viable from a ceiling standpoint as well. So my favorite pairing is Nola for sure, and then probably Garcia. But I'd also give serious consideration to both Merrill Kelly and I guess Michael Kopech as well.
Don't hate the Marquez call there. Interesting. It was going a little bit overlooked. Okay, that's enough on pitchers. Let's talk about stacks. It's 5:31. A lot to discuss here. Top stack for me. I have 3. I don't know how I rank these. Because I have the White Sox up here as my first listed stack, but I also like the other 2 I got underneath them in St. Louis Cardinals and the Arizona Diamondbacks. I guess first I'll make the case for the Chicago White Sox going up against Austin Voth and the Baltimore Orioles bullpen. Voth doesn't go very deep. Highest amount of pitches that he's got so far this season, 41 pitches. He only lasted, it was 2.1 innings. That would have got him to 3 or 4 if he was doing better with his pitches, but he wasn't. He was getting hit. He's averaging over 1 hit per inning, allowing almost 2 home runs per 9. That's very high. You always want to target that. Ground ball rates low, under 40%. Like that, Chicago should be able to get to him. The Orioles bullpen, although they have a good ERA, they're allowing a ton of hits. People just aren't scoring. They're leaving people on the base. They're allowing the 6th most hits in the MLB, but people just haven't been scoring as much on them. Again, 3.1 ERA. It's a bullpen game for the Orioles. So the White Sox get the Orioles bullpen at home, and the White Sox have been hitting the ball. Like, they haven't been scoring just like an absolute ton of runs like we saw the Dodgers do, but they've been getting on base. Luis Robert has been awesome. So he's one of my prize picks plays of the day, over to 1.5 bases. So he left early Wednesday. He got his leg hurt, whatever. He's back tonight. He almost played last night. He would have been fine. Over his previous 4 games before that, he's gotten 3 doubles and a home run and got on base like 8 or 9 times or something like that. Just a lot in 4 games. In 173 at-bats against righties, has a 310 WOBA, good with 5 homers, good. In June, he has a 326 average, 28 hits. That's good in June because it's June 24th. Jose Abreu, Anderson, Vaughn, all good at the top of the lineup. WOBA's over 340. That's the worst of them. I think that was Tim Anderson against righties. Abreu and Vaughn lead the White Sox in homers against righties. Jake Berger, Gavin Sheets also shown power against righties. I like the White Sox a lot against the Orioles bullpen. I like to stack against bullpens game. Luis Robert, Jose Abreu, Andrew Vaughn, Gavin Sheets, Tim Anderson, Jake Berger. The list is in the Sweet Spot article. Go check it out. But I've got them as one of my top 3 stacks. Do you agree or disagree with that, or who are you on?
I do like the White Sox call a lot. In fact, I was really trying to pair them with my top stack. Wasn't able to find a nice way to do it, but if I can find out how to make that work, I would really like to, because I love the Robert call especially. He just projects so well tonight. My top stack is going to surprise absolutely no one. Yet again, it is the Texas Rangers. I may as well not even make the arguments anymore, because you already know what I'm going to say. They're way up there in home runs. They're way up there in stolen bases. You just can't find that kind of dual event upside very often. And it's worth noting the fact that they're near the top of the league, especially in more recent samples, like the last 30 or 14 days, in both home runs and stolen bases. And when you compare the other teams who are near the top, particularly with home runs, you're talking about much better offenses like the Yankees and the Braves, for example. And so when you have a night where they actually do project really well, like they do tonight against Paolo Espino and against this Washington bullpen, it's worth noting, okay, they already hit a lot of home runs. When they project well and when they project for a bunch of runs, and you know that it's coming with the combination of both home runs and stolen bases, just feel like it's so much raw upside from a fantasy perspective that it's really difficult for me to turn that down. I also like the fact that they've got some really cheap upside bats, like Nathaniel Lowe, I always forget which is which, is just $2,800, and he's hitting the ball so incredibly hard right now. I love the top of the order in Semien, Seager, Adolis Garcia. I feel like Adolis Garcia is one of the most under-owned and overlooked fantasy assets, like on a nightly basis. Now you put him in a really good spot and on a big giant slate when you know the ownership won't be there. love him. I also think Mitch Garver coming back from injury is only $3,000. Like he was hanging out in the mid 4,000s when he was healthy, so that's a big discount. You also get Ezekiel Duran at 3,100, I believe. He's been really, really good since coming up to the majors. And it's also worth noting that he's been one of the absolute best hitters in baseball against the curveball, which is one of Espino's favorite pitches. So there's so much to like about this matchup just in general. And then you get to who Texas is and just the way that when they produce, they're producing in a really, really fantasy-friendly way. And you get my favorite stack for like the 10th time in the last 15 days, something like that.
I didn't write him up, but I looked at him, and I like what you're saying here. And what I particularly liked about what you just said about the back of the Rangers stack. So how cheap that they are, right? Mm-hmm. They all line up good, Simeon to Miller. Brad Miller has the third most homers, I believe, on the team. Third or fourth most. I think it's third most homers against righties on the team, batting ninth. Right behind Duran, who's getting on base a ton. Nate Lowe, you made the case for. Jonah Heim, catcher, 4-3. It's hard to find a catcher. You could even do the 6 through 9 if you had to. You could do the 7 through 9 for super cheap with any stack that you wanted to. Yeah. I like the Texas Rangers call. And I don't mind going to the back of the stack there. I don't mind going to the front either. I like what you said about Garcia. We all know Corey Seager gets it done. Marcus Semien kind of figured it out since leaving Oakland. So there you go. I like the call with the Texas Rangers. Next favorite team of mine is going to be the St. Louis Cardinals going up against Kyle Hendricks. Man, this guy's been bad. So I used to play Kyle Hendricks a lot. I really respected him, but it's just gone down the. He's allowed 23 runs combined his last 5 starts. 23 runs his last 5 starts. Not good. June ERA 6.28. Very, very bad. Opposing offenses in June have a 550 slug. Very bad. He's got on the season, he's got a 5.81 road ERA, which is actually better than his June combined ERA. He's allowed 27 hits and 26.1 innings on the roads. More hits than innings. I always love that. I can't get away from stats like that. I just love it. I target that a lot. No one seems to ever pull that in anything I read. That's something I pull a lot. After that, Cubs bullpen, god awful. One of the worst bullpens in the league, 4.70 ERA. Allowed the most runs in baseball. Okay, 156 runs this season. They've allowed the most homers in baseball. You know we love some homers, 46 homers. Nolan Arenado's going deep again off Hendricks tonight. He's done it 3 times. BVP stat for Alex. Last 23 at-bats, 3 homers, 7 hits for a 415 WOBA against him. That is not a small sample size, 23 at-bats. Goldschmidt, best righty hitter on the team. Get some of him. Gorman, misspelled his name in the article. Sorry about that. Looking at it now. He's been on fire. He's actually got half as many home runs as Goldie against righties in less than half the at-bats, if that came right. I think it did. So he's on pace to be another. The numbers say he's on pace to be another Goldie. He's got Goldie-like numbers. I mean, he's good. They moved him up in the lineup. He's playing good. I like the Cardinals a lot. Arenado, Goldschmidt, Gorman, Tommy Edman if you have to. Juan Yepes, he's been good. Tyler O'Neill, if he's in the lineup. Brendan Donovan and Dylan Carlson. Any of them. They're listed in the Sweet Spot article because I'm reading it quick. Go look at the Sweet Spot article. But give me Nolan Arenado, and he's going deep for a 4th time against Hendricks or this bullpen that allows the most home runs in baseball tonight.
I think with Hendricks, you always want to look at how guys do against the sinker relative to the fastball, since he's throwing so many sinkers. Also really like to look at how they do against the changeup and the curveball. There are some guys on this team who match up really, really well with him. Interesting, I would maybe even start with Dylan Carlson. He's very, very neutral against fastballs and crushes sinkers. Also positive against the changeup and the curveball. Harrison Bader has one of the highest differentials in the league, sinker versus fastball. Much, much better against sinkers. He's below average against fastballs, well above average against sinkers. Goldschmidt crushes sinkers. The only guy really who's worth noting on this team who doesn't hit sinkers well is Nolan Arenado.
Don't say that.
He's one of the absolute best in the league against changeups, and he's slightly positive against curveballs. So it's still a decent matchup for him. I really, really like the Cardinals call. There's a lot to like when digging into their matchup. And like you said, Hendricks has been terrible, and sometimes you just let a pitcher be bad and take the hitters that he's facing.
Yeah, and don't forget about the bullpen either, right? I mean,
Mhm.
bullpen's terrible. I think I like the Cardinals a lot tonight. Are the Cardinals a Apple game too? I think they are, aren't
I don't know if they are. I might have to reevaluate my preferred build so
they?
far and try to.
Apple 8:15 Apple TV Plus Cubs at Cardinals.
Okay, so I'll talk about Houston in a second because I was gonna say Houston is my preferred pairing to Texas. We might be changing that and going with St. Louis.
See, that's why that's what I like about the show. We're gonna just
Mhm.
figure it out. We might have been somewhere before. I was all over someone with a pitch count and Alex Cobb, and now you're moving a little off Houston to St. Louis. I like it, man. Do you want to talk about Houston? Are you gonna
Yeah,
completely?
I will because I think like the thing to note with Houston always, and I use them a bunch, and I always want to prioritize the pairing of Jordan Alvarez and Kyle Tucker for whatever reason. Like Frank has had Jordan Alvarez as the best hitter in baseball for quite a while now, and he's never as expensive as Aaron Judge and as Mike Trout and those guys, and he's also not like ever as highly owned as them. And the weirdest thing is like when people stack Houston consistently, you see the ownership for Altuve and Bregman up there, if not above the ownership for Jordan and Kyle Tucker. Like the two lefties are their two best hitters. Like it's almost indisputable at this point. And so when you get a matchup like tonight against a pitcher who's so incredibly dominant against righties, but is quite vulnerable to lefties, you know for a fact that Jordan and Kyle Tucker are going to be under-owned because people are almost evaluating the Houston matchup in general more for the matchup for Altuve and Bregman and these other righties. This is a terrible matchup for them, but like I have the projected ISO for Houston as a team at 200. If they are going to average a 200 ISO against Luis Severino, knowing how dominant he is to righties, you almost know that power is coming from the pairing of Jordan and Kyle Tucker, maybe Brantley, maybe Jason Castro, who's getting the spot started catcher tonight. So I don't hate him by any means at nearly a full punt price tag. But yeah, the pairing of Jordan and Tucker, I think, is a wonderful GPP play tonight. And so I do really like them. And by no means am I saying that like my love for those guys has gone down at all. It's just that previous conversation about St. Louis, then coupled with the fact that oh man, they are an Apple TV game, has me a little bit higher on them.
Yeah, I feel you. Not a bad call. I like the argument you put up for sure. I'm looking at some lineups that came out. The Arizona Diamondbacks lineup I was hoping would be a little bit different. Is Pavin Smith hurt or something? Didn't recall. Is he out?
I do not know.
Let's see. Pavin. I mean, he's not in the lineup. It doesn't matter. But now I'm like, was he hurt? I didn't know it. Why is he not in the lineup? Why is 2300 Pavin Smith not in the lineup? I mean, I'm still going to play the Diamondbacks. I'll just transition to them, and then if you, I'll do this quick, and then we'll talk about what other stacks you like and do some home run calls. I like the Diamondbacks still. We're okay, yeah. All right, the 1 through 4 is still good. 5's good. Peralta, Josh Rojas, they moved back to 6. That's smart. Carson Kelly's okay. All right, so I do kind of like going up against Garcia here. I think the Diamondbacks can get it together. Garcia's been a really extreme fly ball pitcher. He's only has a 28% ground ball rate that season. That's really, really low. Like he's allowing a lot of fly balls. They just haven't like converted as much as I think that they should. So like on his career, he's got a 2.30 home run per 9, which is like extraordinarily high. It's like some of the worst stuff you'll ever see this season. Right now, he's got a 1.89 home run per 9. I think it gets closer to 2 by the end of the season. It should be. He's leaving so many meatballs out there for him to hit. Let's see. Every game since in the past month, every single game, he's given up a home run. Every one. In June, he's got a 5.40 ERA, allowed 9 runs on 14 hits. That's not 9 hits in 14 innings. That's 9 runs on 14 hits. Christian Walker is going to be one of my home run calls tonight, batting cleanup. He's a very, very powerful righty hitter, 15 homers, 270 ISO, 300 WOBA this season. That's good. Varshao is probably my next favorite guy. He's got 9 homers this season off righties, 210 ISO like that. Alec Thomas has emerged. David Peralta is in. He's batting 5th. like Peralta. I thought they were going to have Rojas up there, but they didn't move Ketel Marte. I was looking at something that was wrong. So Marte's even fine at third. But if I had to choose a preference, I'd go Christian Walker, Dalton Varsho, Alec Thomas, David Peralta, and probably Ketel Marte, the 1 through 5 there. If you have to get to Carson Kelly, don't mind that either. But Diamondbacks should score. Apple game. And it wasn't even because it's an Apple game. It's a spot that I liked, and turns out it's an Apple game, so I'm going to get an extra home run because Garcia's given up a home run. He never doesn't. So I like the Diamondbacks. I have them ranked third.
It's pretty incredible looking at Garcia's batted ball data. He's at 16.6% barrel rate for his career, 20% this year, slightly over 50% hard hit rate for his career, and at 58% this year. I actually attacked him last game because the numbers were even worse, and he pitched one of his better games of the year. So maybe I'm overreacting to just that one game and wanting to use him. But like the strikeout upside is there, and I stand by that, and I do really think that he's viable at 5,600, especially because Arizona, like they're a competent offense for sure, but they're not an offense to necessarily fear. So Garcia can get the better of them, but I really do like the call as well to go with the Diamondbacks hitters. This is absolutely one of those situations where you can play either side quite confidently.
Any other teams you want to talk about before we get into home run calls?
No, I think we covered them.
Hey, what about the Braves at Dodgers? You just want I'm a Braves guy. I'm just going to throw in a Braves Dodgers stack because I kind of have to, because Freddie Freeman's coming back and getting his World Series ring and all that stuff. The Braves and Dodgers have both been incredibly hot. I know it's a pretty good pitching matchup for both of them, but we've seen Urias get blown up. We've seen Anderson, give it up somewhat. I might do a little stack there and hope for like a 9-run 7th inning or something. I don't know. Both the bullpens are great too. I'm just going to do it because I feel like I have to, being in Atlanta, and I want the
they're actually second in the strikeout model and projected ISO. So I don't hate it by any means. The thing that scares me off of them is they're only projected for 4.25 runs against the starter, and then you get into this bullpen. It's just such a dominant bullpen.
Yeah.
Urias has a really short leash. So they kind of, if he's struggling, like they won't hesitate to take him out at 65 pitches or whatever. And you just don't want extended innings against this bullpen for the Dodgers.
Looks like Prop Bomb is on Nolan Gorman too. I was just looking at a tweet for the St. Louis Cardinals.
Nice.
All right, let's do some home run calls. I've got my guys lined up. I'll try and pick a weird one too. Are you ready to go with home run calls?
I am, yeah.
I will start it off, I suppose. We were just talking about him, so it's a good place to go. Christian Walker of the Arizona Diamondbacks batting cleanup. Just talked about it. 15 homers off righties so far this season against a guy that gives up a home run every single game he's ever pitched in, essentially, especially the last 30 days, home run every game. Just went over at Christian Walker, home run 3.9K on DraftKings.
I'm going to start Adolis Garcia for Texas.
You love those Rangers, man.
I
would say, have you ever been there? Have you been to Arlington, to the stadium?
I have not, no.
I've been before, but I went to the old stadium. I haven't been to the new one. I wish it was outdoors still. You'd have a better chance if it was outdoors. I like the call, though. I like the Rangers. I'm going to play the Rangers, probably the back of the Rangers lineup there.
Well, you'll like my next one.
Oh, okay. Oh, 2 Rangers. Okay, I'm going with Nolan Arenado. I know the pitch mix stuff that you mentioned, but I'm still going with him, man. I'm still going with him. I think he can get to Hendricks. If he doesn't, he's getting to the Cubs bullpen. Just give me a home run in the game. I don't care who it's off of. Nolan Arenado against the Cubs. Apple TV. Guy rakes. Arenado.
If he gets a changeup, I love his chances. He's one of the best in the league against changeups. My next one's going to be Nathaniel Lowe for Texas. He's hitting the ball really, really hard, and he's been certainly one of the reasons why, like, they as a team have this sort of dynamic where it's like they either hit home runs and steal bases or they don't do anything. And he's been a big part of the home run aspect of that. $2,800 is just way too cheap, I think, for his power upside.
I feel you there. I'm getting some Rangers because of you. I'm going with another Cardinal. I'm going with Gorman. I mean, I said earlier in the show that he could be like the next Paul Goldschmidt. The numbers don't lie. I mean, he's got the same exact ISO as Goldschmidt. That's fine. That's good. Half as many homers and less at bats, significantly less at bats. 360 WOBA against righties this year. I'll go with Gorman. I'm not opposed to saying that Gorman, Goldschmidt, and Arenado are all going to homer. Just 2, 3, 4. I'm not opposed to that. So give it to me. Give me the 2, 3, 4 of the St. Louis Cardinals. I'm getting at least 2 homers. Give me 3 just for a trifecta. Let's go.
Before I get my next home run call, just to build on that stack idea, I personally think that if I'm stacking them, the 2 guys I might prioritize are actually Harrison Bader and Dylan Carlson at the back of the order. You get the correlation, you save a ton of money. So right there, we just gave you a 5-man Cardinal stack, and you can use either an expensive or a really cheap 3-man as well in some other lineups. My next home run call, more expensive bat, really, really good hitter, Yordan Alvarez. Mentioned it, like Frank has him as legitimately the best hitter in baseball. He's been on fire lately, and he's going against a pitcher who's really, really vulnerable to left-handed power.
Love it. Next up, I'm going to go Chicago White Sox. Luis Robert. Home run? Maybe. Getting on base a couple times? Yes. Hitting value? Yes. I think he could homer. He could homer for sure. But he's been hitting the ball so good lately. Going up against the Baltimore Orioles, Austin Voth, and the bullpen. I think the White Sox wrecked the Orioles tonight. And then I might have put this in the article. I was at least thinking it. I want the White Sox to win so bad, like just by like 10 runs, that Baltimore quits throwing out like good arms. Like they throw in like Frank Schwindel, like the Cubs did, or whoever it was last time San Diego was just beating the brakes off them. So give me Luis Robert. I do fear, though, if they're up that much, he might be the first one to go because he was dealing with that recent injury. But I'm still taking him. Give me Luis Robert.
Yeah, it's possible. I also think sometimes it's not even worth like asking that question, because I'd almost say a majority of the time it's just more dependent on like which batter just finished the last inning, and he's the one who gets subbed out. So it's almost not even worth like trying to figure out which guys are going to stay in the lineup and which guys are going to be subbed out. Do I have another home run call? I could go to Kyle Tucker, but I don't really love that. I think I'm just going to stay with Texas and go Corey Seager. He hasn't been hot. And one of the really interesting things I noticed just looking at Seager lately was he has a ton of games where he does like 1 or 2 things really well, where one game he might hit a home run, but it'll be his only hit. The next game he hits 2 doubles and a single. And so when you look at like his fantasy point distribution, you're not seeing the huge ceiling, but the way that he's scoring says like there's going to be an explosion soon. And hopefully it's tonight.
Hopefully it's tonight. What's tonight? What day is it?
Friday.
Aaron Judge.
Yeah.
Aaron Judge. Aaron, I got to call it. I'm not like in love with it. Here's a BVP stat you are just going to love. You're going to love this. And I'm joking. This isn't a real thing. 66% of the time that Aaron Judge hits Justin Verlander goes out for a home run.
How many home runs is that? Is that like 2 of 3?
He's got 2 homers and 21 at bats. With 3, he's only got 3 hits and 21 at bats. See, that's how you can shift the numbers around. 66%. That's just a fun one. I'm not playing Aaron Judge tonight. I just want to say, because it's Friday, the first Friday that I'm going to fade Aaron Judge. How about that? We're ending 5 minutes early. That's the show for tonight. If you have questions, hit us up in Discord. We will get to your questions. We will answer your questions. We'll try and help you make the monies. But I think what we have landed on here, Alex, is that we love the St. Louis Cardinals. And I like the 2 through 5, and I like your 7 through 8. And I'm not opposed to playing 2, 3, 5, 7, and 8 on the same team. Yeah. Just get that merry-go-round going. So I think I'll do that. Appreciate everyone watching. Make sure to go check out YouTube and our Prize Picks content. Again, $100 deposit, 100% match at prizepicks.com using code FTN. Make sure to do that. Good luck this Friday. Everyone have a safe weekend. See you next time. Bye-bye.